decided my biggest pet peeve is, ladies, it is
Chloe.
dirty dishes in the sink. I'm just saying.
Yes.
Just saying. It's like so aggravating to me. It really is. Anywho, everyone, welcome back to Talentless, where we talk about all things recruiting, HR, leadership, the world of work. Very exciting. Today, we're joined by Chloe Ryan, who we've talked numerous times, but it's first time on the show. So excited to have her. And we're talking about what recruiting models there are out there, what makes sense, what doesn't make sense, how you determine which one's best for you. Because I think that recruiters get this screwed up. I'm going to talk about this more as we get to the podcast, but I worked for an RPO for a long time, and most people didn't even know what RPO was. Sometimes we get them on the phone.
Preach, girl.
It's
Preach.
crazy. So, Chloe, welcome to the show. Please give us your, bio.
Yeah. Well, thank you, ladies. First and foremost, thank you so much for having me on the Talentless podcast. Honestly, I think I've listened to every single one of your episodes and I just love you guys so much. So I am super excited to be here, honored that you guys invited me to be on. So yeah, Chloe Ryan. I am the Vice President of Talent Solutions at WSI Talent Sync. I have spent almost 15 years all in the talent acquisition space. So I guess I would call myself a subject matter expert now, but I've been in all avenues, always on what I would call third party side. So never on the corporate side, but I've done all different type of recruiting models. So I think today's podcast is going to be great because I've done them all, but specifically for the past 10 years, I've been in the RPO world. So like you said, I think the biggest challenge about being in this world is that people don't understand what it is. They don't understand the acronym. It is a foreign concept. So here today to hopefully just educate and have a great conversation with you ladies. So excited to be
Thank
here.
you very much. You're probably our one listener, Chloe.
I was just about to say, oh my gosh, all of them. I'm so sorry. Like my deepest apologies. Someone should pay you for your troubles.
No, amazing. You guys are great.
Goodness. Thank you.
The topic explained is simple, right? What are the different models of recruiting? What is out there? What's going on? What do even any of these terms mean? Because I've heard them explained and I'm like, that is not what that means, just so you know. So let's jump right in and let's start big picture for a second there. Why do you think, Chloe, that there's so much confusion around recruiting models in the first place?
Yeah, I talked to a lot of people really about the history of recruiting and models and where this world has been. And obviously, the traditional staffing model is what, when you think of recruitment agency, the word agency comes around, contingency, that word is always thrown around. But really, at the end of the day, let's just call a spade a spade. Typically, most people know what a staffing model looks like, right? And that's where, in most cases, it's a contingent workforce. So that staffing or recruitment company is, they're recruiting for you. They're taking on all the risk. They're their employee. They are, it's a quick turnaround. So I think that's traditionally what a lot of people have inside of their head as far as, oh, I'm going to call up a recruitment agency and this is what I'm going to get. Right. And really, if you actually look at the history of RPO, really that concept didn't actually start to formulate until like the mid 90s. And really the coined term RPO, the actual acronym, actually didn't get named until 2000. So we're only really celebrating just going on 26 years of really this RPO model. And so I think a lot of it is just that there's not time behind it, having it be used for a long period of time. And I think a lot of people also just, it hasn't come to fruition in small to mid-sized companies. A lot of the bigger companies understand the Deltas of the world, like those, they may have used a partner, but small to mid-sized companies, to your point, they have no idea what an RPO is and that really it's a solution to their recruiting, to their internal recruiting. They think, again, just they automatically switch their brain to staffing, contingency, that type of mindset. So I think honestly, I think it's just the short period of time that it's really been in the world and what it's gone through in the 25 years. Think it went through 08, 09, and then it also went through COVID. So like in its short infancy, it's gone through two big like financial and then the pandemic, and that has significantly changed how RPO functions through those two things. What RPO looks like today, even to where it was 10 years ago when I first started, is vastly different. So I think the pace of change also keeps it kind of unknown to people or foreign, that kind of foreign concept.
I also think too, like I was talking to a fractional recruiter the other day, and like that's a new one too. So I think people just get super confused when it comes to this stuff. They're like, what does this even mean? So I'm going to ask Ashley, if you had to define the major buckets in recruiting, what would you say they are?
I've been in RPO 10 years. I was like, okay, she's the grandmother of, because it is in its infancy. And to be honest, the way that I know that, even outside of RPO work, that when was the first time I started working with an RPO? I think 2020. Prior to that, RPO has kind of changed the way that talent has been seen. It definitely isn't maybe the solo catalyst, but it is something that is changing our ecosystem. And what I mean by that is this idea that you could have subject matter experts that rotate in and out of businesses and make it to where you can actually have a better impact with those than if you did bring them in-house and try to grow them. And that is something super important because I think that shows that any good strategic partner talent professional can pop into place, pop into role, understand the concepts, be able to be dangerous enough to ask qualifying questions, receive the answers. But also, it's kind of this concept that like they don't have to know every single thing about this business in order to do it right. Right. And so it honestly just RPO to me breaks down so many stigmas about talent and how you have to become a good talent partner and that it must take 50 years in seat to be able to do it. And really and truly, that's all just hazing words. Like at the end of the day, RPO really tore down a lot of those theories and like issues of what a talent person should be, to where I honestly think that it is why we are shaped up for where we are today, is because it has changed how people thought about it. And now if you can't meet the standard to what an RPO can offer you, you in big trouble, honey. So they've even upped the ante on like how we evaluate performance as well. So sorry, gonna stop yapping.
No,
Yeah,
100%.
Chloe, and it's so funny. I was reading some of your posts recently about RPO because when I worked in it, it got a bad rap. It was like it got such a bad rap. And if you look at the traditional old way of doing RPO and like just throwing recruiters in who necessarily weren't subject matter experts and just building a team based on that, that's where it started to get this bad name. And it's such a short history. Wow, you did damage like really quickly.
Real damage.
Real damage. So what does a good RPO look like though, Chloe?
Yeah. So I love that you bring that up because that is really where my mindset, I mean, everything you both just said, even Ashley, referring back to what you said, it, it has shaped a lot and the standard has been set. But if you do it bad or if you don't do it correctly, there's this stigma. So, you know, be built Talent Sync really from the ground up, and I'll be celebrating a year of that in a month, which is crazy. Yay! Is that, this RPO word. And the one thing that I just absolutely hate about it, one, it's an acronym, and two, that the last word is outsourcing. And so the immediate reaction to that from everybody, whether it's done good or bad, is just like jobs are being taken, there's just this nasty connotation with that. So really thinking about it, I've changed the context in the last couple of months and really trying to reestablish as a recruitment process partnership. So an RPP versus an RPO. And what that means, to answer the question, is that we are truly partners. We are an embedded team. We are you, right? At the end of the day, we're coming in and it's not just a quick fix. And I think a lot of times potential partners are like, I have this major issue and I want it solved in 30 days. And you have years of bad talent acquisition practice. And then a lot of times RPOs will come in and they'll just throw more of kind of the same at it. And so I really want to establish this concept about partnership and bringing the people to the table and creating that long lasting seat for them. So yeah, it's just been something that's been weighing on me for like a couple of months of like, why do we keep calling it this? And can I be the one to call it something different? So taking a leap of faith there.
Yeah. Absolutely. I worked in agency before I worked in RPO right before it. And it was always fascinating to me that people picked that model. And I'm not talking bad about agency. Listen, it gave me chops. Trust me. It was like that
Talk about
world
wet
is
your teeth. Yeah.
Mhm.
that world's a whole different world. But I was always surprised that so many people were clients of it because of the fees were so high. But, I guess that's what people understand as recruiting. Like you were saying in the beginning, is like, I'm going to go to this agency. They're going to throw me a bunch of resumes and I'm going to go, and that's how the world works in recruiting. And I also think as much as RPO has done a great job of like saying that's not really true, I think agency keeps us in that place where all we do is throw resumes at people, right?
And I think the misnomer too is like, yeah, if you're not doing it right, you're also bringing the same methodology, right? You have
Mhm.
to bring something different. And to me, the big differentiator is not only the people, which is obviously really important to what Ashley was saying, but it's the technology. It's the pieces, parts that most of these even Fortune 500 companies, I mean, I've heard you guys talk about it on your show, even when you talk about like rec ops and stuff, it's amazing what still a lot of them don't have.
Yes.
And so you're bringing that, and that's a lot of change. And so
Yeah.
I think sometimes that's really, most of the time, let's just be real, that's
Mhm.
really uncomfortable. And people always ask me when I'm in the sales process, they're like, gosh, you're selling me a deal of goods here. Why isn't this going to work? Like, they're like mind blown about it. And I will be honest with them. I'll look them right now. I say, the reason why I've had RPO relationships not work is because the company was not ready to change. They
Yes.
were not ready to make true changes. And we all know if you do the same thing, you're going to get the same results. It's just
Right.
insanity. So,
Mhm.
if you, and I would tell them, if you're not ready to make legitimate change when it comes to your process, when it comes to your employer brand, when it comes to DEI, when it comes to technology, if you're not going to allow us to actually do any of those things, then yeah, we'll be 6 months or a year from here and we'll be seeing the same results.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think so whenever I feel that people run to vendor solutions, not necessarily tools, but service solutions, it is kind of that quick fix. It is that grab a glue. It is that, like, oh, let's do a little band-aid patch real quick. And I think kind of the point to Desiree's point, that setting in this ecosystem is what kind of keeps us from being a strategic partner.
Mhm.
Because then it is, well, I guess anyone can do this. I need to pay someone who can generate resumes, which is where the HR tools in itself, like Indeed and ZipRecruiter, make all their commercials and all their money is all you ever needed was a resume. And this goes back to like our always point that like tech only ever exists off of a recruiter's dysfunction.
Right.
So, like, whatever the recruiting dysfunction is, that is what is causing the tool to be created in the first place. And,
Oh,
so I say all this to say it is just interesting how many orgs' natural instinct is to go to agency and how agency has placed us in this ecosystem and how RPO is truly changing that. And I will say, I do feel like for people listening, we've said a lot of words and a lot of acronyms. And the first thing Des asked me that I refused to answer was to define the buckets.
That's normal on this show.
Yeah, my bad, my bad. But what I was gonna say, so like just for everybody on the phone, everybody in, everybody in. The main difference, like if you're starting at the top of the tree, is you have in-house, outhouse, basically. So in-house is going to be your corporate, outhouse is going to be your agency, your staffing, your RPO, anything that would be external to that organization's internal staff hiring. Okay, in-house, corporate, bloop, that's done. Outhouse, you can have agency, which is more of like, and here's one, y'all can actually talk to me on this. I argued with a manager once because there's like with agency, you can do executive search, but you can also do like contingency hires to where like your certain clauses and things, like everything has this unique nuance, but basically they take in 25% off the top. That's all you need to know.
33 and a third at some places.
Okay, 33 and a third at some places, but they don't charge you for that productivity. They
Right.
don't charge you for their hours sat in seat. They only charge you for who you hire out of their Rolodex, which means they genuinely are just a resume holder and reservoir. Embedded is whenever they're going to come into your side of the business, probably get a company email is usually the telltale sign between that and a contractor. And they get to go be, W-2 tied to the RPO, but doing the work at the house of whatever client that may be. And then we have staffing, which is just good old, basically agency, but it's my started it. And you know something though, there's something about the people who did start in staffing where I'm like, you a real one, and I know it.
Yeah, just the fill 'em and bill 'em, baby. Fill 'em
Yeah.
and bill 'em.
And you know what? If I would still go and retire off that plan, because I made like even in my early days, I made decent money. So
my
I might holler
God.
back.
Holler back. Yeah, that was where I cut my teeth. Like right out of college, I worked for a light industrial temp agency, and it was like fill and bill. Now, granted, I was making myself like a whopping $10 an hour, but I will tell you those commission checks, biggest commission checks I ever received as a recruiter. You can't knock that. You can't knock that.
Can't knock the money ever.
No,
Ever.
I love doing my bill rate math, dude. I love being like, ooh, for every hour they work, I'm getting $7.50. That's one minimum wage person. Like, I just sat there and did math all day to how much it would equate to, and I was just like, yes. Like that's the best part.
This episode of the Talentless podcast is brought to you by Do Better Consulting. Hiring is broken. Job searches are broken. And honestly, most career advice out there is just recycled nonsense. Do Better Consulting exists for people who are done guessing. They work with mid to senior leaders, founders, and talent teams to get clear on their signal, how they show up in the market, how they hire, and how decisions actually get made. No fluff, no templates just to say you have them. Just strategy, structure, and honest feedback that actually works. If you're tired of spinning, it might be time to do better. Head to dobetterconsulting.net.
And the best part about it is there's such a world for that. And like, it's still so heavily used at WSI. We have that part of our business and it's super successful. And there is so many good use cases for it. I will say there are times where companies have like overused it and you're like, man, you've got your whole eggs in this one basket over here. Like that's a scary situation to be in. But honestly, like the good old staffing, it just really does have it has a special place in my heart, but such a good thing just in general. But yeah, there's just so many all those other ways you described too, Ash. It's like, I think that's why also people are just confused a lot of the time.
Yeah,
it's like,
absolutely. And I
is
also
this
think
contingent? Like, it's kind of, there's just so much.
And I think to Ashley's point, right? Usually when they get to this place, it's because they're frustrated already.
Yeah.
Like they can't get across the finish line. Some hiring managers like, you're not getting me enough good people fast enough, right? The whole like scenario happens and they're like, all right, we need to go find a vendor. I do think that, what I'd love to cover now is like kind of how do you choose the best model? What is the right situation to stay only in-house? What is the right situation to bring in an agency or an RPO, right? Because I think it's essential for people to think that through before they just go jump and call the only name they know, right? Like, I know this agency, so I'm just going to call them, but that may not be the right situation. Chloe, what do you think the best situation is for someone to bring in an RPO?
Yeah. So, just to give a little context of the type, specifically my area of expertise, and that'll help when I answer the question is I specialize, my 10-year history, just so both of you know, is in high volume hourly hiring, repeatable roles, multi-site location. So if you just think about that, kind of take those three verticals, right? It's hourly, it's high volume. So there tends to be turnover, and maybe you're running a multi-site, multiple locations, or you're in unique rural situations. Like those are really ripe for an RPO type relationship, right? Where you have that repeatableness from an infrastructure standpoint. What is it going to take to stand up a full talent acquisition team that can service something like that? And if you are in a situation where this is always the big checkbox I say to people, like where the technology is really light and maybe you don't even have a good ATS or you have no ATS at all, like an RPO is a great way to bring the subject matter experts. To your point, like you get expertise immediately. You get technology immediately, pretty quickly, and you get scalability really quickly. And quickly in the sense that I don't think it's a quick fix, quickly just in the sense that it can help you scale, in a much more practical way.
Yeah.
And probably even a more cost-effective way.
Yeah, because look how much LinkedIn Recruiter costs.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
What if I told you that your boss skydives, Tim in marketing is a magician, and Sam in accounting does sums in his head while standing on his hands? Seeing sides of the people you work with but never see, sides that inform and inspire their work and that can inspire yours, is what The Talent Show is all about. Email me, Tom Alexander, host of The Talent Show, at talentshow@backboneinc.com and show us what you got. I look forward to seeing you on The Talent Show.
Like, who's paying for that if you got a small team? You still need to hire 200 people, but we don't have money for LinkedIn Recruiter. I mean, that could be a whole nother show, by the way.
Yeah.
Don't get me started.
We're just going to list out that flat rate so the listeners know. What is it at these days? 2026? It's probably $11K a pop.
Horrifying.
Minimum.
Some of the numbers I've seen, it's just
and the thing
outrageous.
with the LinkedIn, not to bash, because that's not, but they lock you in. Now they're in these 3 to 4 year contracts.
And 9 month, you can't move seats minimum, dude.
Really?
It's nuts. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
So it's
like
really...
they're getting their monies, honeys. Yeah.
Yeah, but just that alone, I know when I worked in RPO embedded recruiting, whatever you choose to call that a little bit.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things was the technology factor, because there were so many companies that were like, we are not going to go get, 5 things to be able to.
Yeah, well, when you think about, just your applicant tracking system, and then if you're really going to attract talent, you're going to layer some type of CRM on top of that. And then you're going to have your LinkedIn, you're going to have your Indeed, you're going to have your ZipRecruiter, you're going to have probably subscriptions to all of those. Then you have the talent piece, which is the most important piece that you're going to have to scale and train and retain. And I think if there's I think that's the other thing where a lot of my customers, they have seasonality peaks, right? So it's like, okay, if I need 10 recruiters, but I only need really 5 for this period of month, but then I need 10 here, right? Like there's just a scalability factor there that it makes the most amount of sense.
That's a good point to bring up, is the seasonality of these things. Companies go through, these waves of like hiring and then not hiring, and you may need some more support along the way. I'm a fan. I would love for you to disagree with me, but I'm a fan of agency for these like really highly specialized roles. That's the only time. Like when I worked in agency, I worked on like the mechanical engineer, civil engineering side of the business. And those were so like unique and weird, and like that agency only did that, and that was we always had this like big database full of mechanical engineers, right? So it was an easy fix to slot someone in and slot someone out, and they do a lot of contracting in that world as well, so it was like an easy thing. But other than that, I probably should never say this because I probably will need a job in an agency one day, but I'm not a huge fan.
No, yeah. Like I think there's just so much, unfortunately, there's so much like negative connotation, I think, just because it's done. So yeah, it just, a lot of times it's not done correctly. But to your point, that is just, I call it the purple squirrel. I do think that that is legitimate. And I have, it's not my area of expertise. I always tell people, like, you can't pay me to talk to the engineers and IT people, but that is that's
Ashley's world. She loves that world.
Yeah, no, it's my favorite. And that's what I would say,
God
like,
bless you.
yeah, no, the harder, like, the better, yo. Like, I'm one of those, like, sleuthy sleuths. Like, you don't think no one exists? Let me find out. Let me put these fingers on it and just go look and start typing up. But yeah, I would say agencies, to me, they make the most sense whenever it is extremely niche, extremely confidential, or extremely executive. Like those are the 3 use cases where I'm like, agency
search, of
makes
course,
sense.
I put into a different bucket, but
I do and don't. Anytime there's a lump sum fee, honey, that's my bucketing system. I just call them agency if it's a lump sum. But if we continue it on, it's that embedded.
Right? They are, but it takes a different type of recruiter to do executive search, in my opinion.
I will say you are so right. Because guess who hates executive search?
I love
Your
it.
girl. I hate it. Oh, I hate it so much. I can't deal with that. You're cutting into my 5 p.m. yoga time. Okay, well, thank you for that. Goodbye now.
They are the hardest candidates. I will say that. They
Yep,
are
boy.
the candidates are something else, you know.
Yeah.
I always tell them, like, you could be a little persnickety because you've got, 35 years of doing something. Maybe I'd be a little persnickety too. But it is my favorite. I do love hiring for very senior level roles. Because I just get to talk to cool people that have had this
Yeah.
history of cool stuff. Like, Ashley, even though you're young, you have a lot of experience. Like, I would love talking to you for like a very
Aw.
senior level role.
That's the sweetest thing I've ever heard. What's happening today? This
I
is
don't
the
know.
sweetest day.
I ate breakfast. Okay, don't get
Oh
used
my
to it.
gracious.
She ate breakfast, had her coffee. She's ready to go.
Like, I did
Wow.
think that. Let's talk about when it's not a good
Yeah.
idea to bring somebody in. I think partnership is one of them,
Yeah.
right? Like,
I
if you're not
agree.
ready for
No.
change, right?
Mm.
Don't do it.
I think that's my number one. That's my number one pet peeve is like, I had this actually happen to me. I think it was like end of Q4 where again, it came through my website, they're calling you up. It's an emergency situation. They want it done in 90 days. Like, but then I get on the phone and I'm doing the discovery meeting with them and it's, we're walking through the processes and why, and everything is broken. Like,
Right.
girls, I can't even explain it. Like, everything from start to
Right.
finish is broken. And I say, you need some, again, I'm an RPO provider. Like, I'm going to come in and help you. You're going to have to really revamp this thing and you're not going to get immediate results. And it's like,
Yeah.
I ended up not even moving forward with them because again,
Yeah.
if you're not really ready for change, then especially on the RPO side, if you want a quick fix, and you want, bodies tomorrow, yeah, maybe call up agency.
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, they have to be
Well,
ready
that
for
would
a
be my thing
partnership.
besides partnership. It's like, if you are just a broken talent function completely, and you need to do some internal rewiring, sometimes none of this is going to help you, right?
No,
If you
none
haven't
of
dealt
it's
with
gonna
that hiring manager problem or how you get feedback or like some of this stuff, I think it's really hard to bring in some outside external vendor and say, hey, fix this, right?
Yeah.
Get us to hiring faster.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
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 you just can't fix it. Sorry.
And if you're gonna see someone, if you're gonna see, especially like an RPO or an embedded team, if you're gonna just truly continue to use the word vendor or call, like, that's also not gonna work.
Yeah,
If you
right.
can't ever think about it in a partnership mentality, even if just a little bit, and you're just gonna unfortunately, I've seen this a lot in my space where it's just even sometimes a lot of head of HRs or Ts, they bring in a vendor and then they can just blame all their problems
Oh,
on
yeah.
that. So it's almost using them as a scapegoat. Well, I brought them in and it's still not working. So see, it's never going to work, right?
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of that I see in this space, unfortunately, too.
Yeah, definitely, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's painful.
Unbelievable.
It is painful.
Where do we think we're headed with all these models? Like, are they always going to all be around? RPO going to survive? Is agency failing? Like, what do we think? What's the future?
Well, I am impressed with us ladies because I don't even know. We're at 30 minutes and we haven't even brought up the word AI yet, which is
I
just
know.
like,
I'm trying not to.
I know, right? So like, again, with the world we're living in, I'm very impressed. When you ask the question of like, what does the future look like and do these models survive?
You have to bring it up. I mean,
you have to bring it up, right? And it's something that, having listened to your guys' episodes, I've heard kind of your guys' theory on it. I just think we don't know. I'm still in that, like, it's definitely going to it's going to transform the recruiting industry in general, whether it's internal or outsourced. But what does that, I mean, I've gone to conferences, ladies, where like people are the believers that within 18 months, you're going to be able to push a button and say, I want this person. And the whole entire recruitment process is going to happen without any human. So like there are people out there that believe that wholeheartedly.
It's a sad thing.
It is a really sad thing. So I think the future is a little bit unknown, but where I do see at the end of the day, having worked heavily with AI models myself, like the human to me, I am a believer that my world will always exist in one way, shape, or form. And it's people like us who've been in the industry for a while that can continue to bring that expertise. And I think that's always going to be needed. Now, what it looks like may
I
change.
just think it changes the service offering, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe it doesn't change the model, but what you're actually delivering to get paid for may change a little bit. Maybe your embedded recruiters become more strict, as we talk about in the show. I swear we say it like a million times. Strategic business partners. Maybe they're more of that than they are just filling roles, or maybe there's some switch. I don't think you can discount AI right now, right? You can't discount it, but I don't think any of these models probably go away. I think it just changes what you're delivering at the end of the day.
It also sucks that because I feel like we would better be able to predict if we had decent legislation around empowering actual employees and protecting their data and protecting what actually matters. Then I think we would have some form of an idea of what this would look like. But to be honest, since we don't have any legislation to hold anyone accountable for absolutely anything, ...
That's not where the wild, wild west around here.
Yeah, not that. The only thing that we have to hold us really accountable is honestly the consumer. So the candidates saying, no, I want your human judgment. I don't want your AI tool in this. All those people throwing down where we're like, man, just chill. I'm actually happy for y'all. I'm glad that y'all are out here hooping and hollering, because ain't nobody else trying to protect your data. Ain't nobody else trying to make sure that judgment and a humans in the loop is involved. Ain't nobody else. So to the consumer, to the recipients of the process that all these AI makers are not thinking about when making all of these products, thank you for still standing your ground, because our own legal laws and compliance have not even tried to catch up to what is clearly the issue that y'all have already found and seen and are screaming out to the top of your lungs.
And I will say there are groups of candidates.
Oof. Hold on. Go, Chloe, go.
We had delay there.
Yeah.
I just think that there's groups of candidates, to your point, Ashley, out there that we see specific groups that are absolutely, to your point, stomping their feet in the ground and are like, I will not engage with your chatbot. I will not engage with your agentic AI voice screener. I want to know. So that part is, and I've seen more of that in the last couple months. So that part to me is interesting. If people really start to stand up and be, no, right? And kind of slow it down a little bit. I think we'll see. I also just think in general, outside of that, just this AI fatigue thing is real.
It's exhausting.
Exhausted.
But also, let's not forget, AI can only go so long with the water that we have. So we got about 60 more days, and then it's all going to float away anyway. So job security AF, you know what I mean? That's all I'm hearing with all this water depletion.
It's so true.
It's so true, though. They keep talking about what's the future. What future, y'all? It's about to look like Mad Max out here. What are we talking about? I need everyone to remain calm, because it's about to get out of pocket.
It is crazy. There's so many components of it. There's just so
many.
There
are, aren't there? Just too many. Too many.
Too many to think about.
Too many to think about.
So just any part of my day where I start to think, oh man, my job's going to get totally disrupted. Then I think about all the things. I'm like, no.
Yeah. And you don't even have to think about it anymore. You're like, will they have enough water to sustain me till my 5th year anniversary? Nope. Will they just at the end of the day, it turns out maybe the human intelligence might actually be okay enough instead of artificial. Just thinking. I don't know.
Just thinking out loud for a friend.
Yeah. Just for a friend.
Well, I mean, I know you said you listen to every episode. We do not believe that AI completely takes over the talent. It just, or at least we hope.
In some regards, but not in the judgment space.
Right, not in the judgment space. Or at least we hope. And people are already getting sued for making decisions through AI from the talent side. So, I mean, I do think there will be pushback continually that will keep us from getting to that place, or at least I hope so.
Well, it speaks back though to the question on why someone should use a partner, for example. And that is one thing right now that I am really leaning into, which is the AI side. That is a reason why you would choose me, Now, I want to be a trusted partner to you, and I want you to know that I'm doing the work to make sure we're compliant. I'm vetting the technologies. So there is a place, right, where for an HR person, talent acquisition director, where it's like, there's so much out there. There's so much noise that your strategic partner can be that for you, can be the one that's doing the vetting, that's really, and as long as you're aligned on the directionality of where you want to take AI for your specific company, I think that's an advantage, especially.
That's what I was saying about the service
Yeah.
offering, right? It's changing what you're able to say, you're able to provide as a partner
Yeah.
in that, like, hey, you have a million things to do. I'm going to vet your technology, or I'm going to be that AI person for you and vet all the new bells and whistles out here that we don't need.
A million things. Because let me tell you, they're crowding up your inbox. I mean, the salespeople, it's like,
race. I love my favorite is when I was in RPO, was an RPO trying to sell me an RPO.
Every day, girl. Every day, girl.
That's fun.
Thank you very much.
You should have been like, can you tell me more, please?
No, please tell me all the things. I don't know. It was just so bizarre, but yeah, it used to happen to me all the time. Does it happen to you every day, Chloe?
Oh, every day. Every day.
Ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
And then I probably get at least 5 to 7 a day of like, I can do all your sourcing for you. I can do all your screening for you. I'm like, okay.
It's like, I bet you can. You and 90 of the other AIs, right? But one other thing that I will say that I feel RPOs really, really offer, where every single client that I've worked at has just genuinely yet to really get this right, is data. Like for me, RPOs.
Girl, we haven't even gone there. Yeah.
I know, like, and this whole thing's already almost at the tippy point, which is so sad. We're gonna have to, especially if it's data, because hear me out, I'll lose control. Yeah, I'm gonna go a little nuts.
I as a data girl, we could have a whole podcast on that.
I'm telling you, if we did, okay, putting this out here so it'll be copywritten. If I ever did a data podcast, I'm calling it peer reviewed. I just want everyone to know I'm claiming the name. That means that if Mike Petito's listening and he takes it in the future, we have it documented.
Not calling
He a thief. He's a thief. Said as a friend, kind of, but as a thief. So anyway, we're moving on from that. But I will say, yeah, like that's one thing where companies are always flying in the dark, and the only way that they get any form of data, any form of productivity analysis of what goes in to produce what gets the outcomes, like, don't exist.
Zero.
So RPOs really are an angel whenever it comes to that.
Yeah. And I think, when I was saying technology, I mean, that's really, again, being that we are in 2026, it does amaze me that I have conversations with pretty large employers who, when I say, what's your conversion rates?
Right.
We have no clue. We don't know what we're talking about. You know, I think time to fill is starting to get there, but it's like, a funnel? What? How do?
Oh my gosh!
Wait till you ask them for a pass-through ratio, girl. They're gonna be like a holiday hoobie. Whaty? They're gonna look at you like you came from the future. And they're gonna be like,
when I say
listen.
top of the funnel in talent, and no one knows what I'm talking about.
It's like I'm speaking a foreign language, and I'm talking to some really high-level talent. Not even HR people, because HR are different than talent. We know that.
Yeah.
But like even some high-level talent acquisition directors, and I'm no, you're looking at me like you don't know.
Not all talent leaders are created equal.
No. And then it is amazing. Like once to watch that, I think that's the funnest part about being an RPO is when you can watch that transformation.
Yeah.
And you're in 6 months and you're showing them these dashboards every week and they're like, oh my gosh.
Mind blown. Mind blown.
So yeah, you have a great point there, Ashley. It's like, that piece is huge because a lot of them just.
Yeah, it's really tough. Really, really tough that so many don't understand it. I was just having this argument about time to fill and time to hire the other day. I mean, it's like just these stupid conversations I feel like I've been having since I've been in talent. Like,
you know, the one that matters the most to me, and I feel like no one on this planet looks for it. Des, if you had to guess what I think it was, what would you guess?
I have no idea. You're so weird.
Oh my gosh, get in my head. I definitely would say time to find, which for everyone on the phone is how long from when the rec was open to whenever whomever you hired, candidate A that you hired, applied. So if it was 4 days into from when the rec was open, they applied, because then that lets me know how good is our brand? How much do I need you to be sourcing? How long should this process really should have taken? Who's the holdup in it?
So this is the part of the conversation where we do the talent outside the box, which is the cognitive or psychological side of what we've been talking about. And today we've been talking about different models of recruiting. Ashley, make it up.
I'm trying my best. I'm thinking my hardest. All right. For today's talent outside of the box, we're going to talk about what is the difference between RPO arrival versus a recruiter's arrival. And what do I mean by that? Talking about aligning as a strategic partner. Whenever an RPO shows up to a client engagement or an intake, they are going to be bringing market insights. They're going to be bringing anything that they could have found out about your company for historical attrition and retention rates. They're going to be talking about what is the norm that you should expect from this type of process. What are the days it should averagely take to fill? They're going to be setting a table. I can't tell you how many recruiters show up to calls with nothing but their plate, and all that they are doing is saying, can you tell me what you want for this? Can you tell me what you need for this? Okay, and where is there anywhere else you can think of that I should be looking? And that is what they have brought to that conversation. RPOs and those that specialize as SMEs in these specific niche parts of town are individuals who will be showing up with more than that, because that is what you pay for. And if you want to be a strategic partner as a recruiter, then start showing up like an RPO. Maybe start showing up a little bit different. And that was off the top of my head. Boop.
I know. Most of the time you're pulling them out of your what's
straight out of here. Yep. And then brought it right. And in this pocket is where I keep it.
That was a good one. I'm very proud of you, Chloe.
Thank you so much.
But now you have to tell us where to find you. Plug yourself, where to find your company, all the things.
Yay. Thank you, ladies. First and foremost, absolute pleasure to just spend 40 some minutes with you. So great. But yes, all about me. First and foremost, just a website, WSI Talent Sync.com. You can learn all about our RPP services. So take a look, but also follow me on LinkedIn, Chloe Ryan. I'm sure there will be a link in here somewhere. But I love following both of you, actually. So it's so fun. I hope I can put out as much great content as you guys do. So I try to have great content, a little fun, a little serious. So it's worth the follow.
This last campaign is pretty good, my friend. I have to say, conversation was important, because even if you're an in-house recruiter or wherever you live in the world of recruiting, understanding what else is out there is super, super important in how you become a strategic partner to the business. Really important.
For whenever all of this market stuff pops, and all these people need recruiters real quick because everybody need a hire. I hope every recruiter on the planet go get their money, honey, because it's our only time. Go get as many jobs as you can. Be overemployed, little angel. Get it while we can. All right.
Please make sure to follow us wherever you get your podcasts on Blue Sky. Instagram and LinkedIn are our majors, and we'll see you. And please buy some merch. We're out here selling some merch. Hey, I had like 3 orders this week. I'm very impressed with myself. So please go ahead and send us a pic, and we'll put you out on all of our social media. It was so nice to have you, Chloe. I appreciate you, and we will see everybody next week. Bye.